Call the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting to order. We have a full house here. All our members are present. Would everybody stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Move the agenda.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is, are there any comments on the minutes from our last meeting in January?
Move the minutes.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Scott, could you give us updates on whatever you got an update on?
I can, sure, thank you. So, yesterday, the town council met. We had a few new business items to discuss. We voted on and approved a slight change to the way that the summer event schedule will work, where the events are sort of loaded into the shoulder season rather than into the center of the summer. So you'll see more events beginning kind of May 1st and actually running through October and even a little later. So with the idea that it sort of worked last year as a pilot program, this year we're going to make it sort of the rule, where we don't really need to draw people into town in the middle of the height of the summer, but this does, like, actually it starts in April. I think bonfires start on the beach in April, and the concert series sort of starts in May and runs into the shoulder season. So I think it's a positive change. The business owners appreciate it, and it kind of adds some life into the rest of the town. We discussed and voted to increase the cost of the second residential parking permit. There's no change in the cost to your first residential parking permit, but the second permit has gone up to $50. So this is in response to the idea that the lots at the end of the beach streets, the oceanfront lots, are still open to residents parking with their tag, so they can park there for free. So this somewhat offsets the cost or the lost revenue from parking meters. And there had also been no change in the parking permit costs for a few years leading up to that, so it was kind of the right time to do it, and also in response to the change in costs or the reduction in fees from meters. We voted to change the yard waste and bulk trash pickup policies. The town manager's office had noted some, I'll say, abuse of the bulk trash pickup. You know, we do this, the town picks up bulk trash twice a year over a 2-week period in the spring and a 2-week period in the fall. They were seeing lots of large yard waste, lots of just whole houses being cleaned out. So this will now limit the amount and size of things that you can have put out in that regular period to 6 items. Logs are now not allowed, things like that. You can still call the town, you can still and have a separate pickup scheduled, and the cost of that is $50, so it's pretty small cost. And on an exciting note, we approved the purchase of a new mini excavator. So I think free rides for everyone on those. Yeah. And that was our new business.
Good. Thank you. Susan, any comments on the Non-Residential Design Review Committee?
We met for Atlantic Auto Service and approved their signs. There'll be 2 wall signs, one on the garage itself that spells out the name of the business, and a small circular sign over the office building, which is their new logo.
You want to let them know where that is, the location?
It's up Garfield Parkway, but I can't remember the exact address. It's the old Roberts.
The old Roberts.
Auto
No,
Care.
yeah.
Next to
Yeah.
the Febos.
And they are open
the
now,
Fibos.
we were
Yeah,
told.
they're great,
So, support our local business people. Let's see, I'd like to acknowledge two of our council members, the mayor and the vice mayor. Hi, guys. Thanks for coming, and we're glad to see Lou, who runs this whole show on the 10-year plan, doing a fine job. Okay. Do any commissioners have any comments? John?
Mr. Chairman, I think it would only be appropriate to also acknowledge Council Member Emeritus, Mr. Healy, who's here.
That is my mistake, and he is the most important ex-council member here. Yeah. Yeah, that's- Yes, John.
And this is not an item on the agenda, Mr. Chairman, but at the last Planning Commission meeting, we had a brief discussion about bamboo, and I would like to have a little follow-up on that.
Okay.
And we also had a discussion about the potential of requiring, if trees are taken down, that they be replaced. And if we have time and appropriate, would like to have a
Okay.
follow-on discussion.
Okay,
I don't
wha-
think that violates any of the notice requirements.
No,
but-
we'll take that under old business. I think
Okay.
it's a good idea. We did did talk about it last meeting, so that'll be a general discussion under old business. I have a comment. I'd like to thank, even though he's gone, John Apple for all the his efforts for the town as well as for the Planning and Zoning Commission. He's going to be missed. He was a excellent staff member of the town of Bethany Beach, and now he's probably freezing to death in New Hampshire, and where he's, I think, the town administrator. So, John, I'm sure you're listening today, but, yeah, thank you. Alrighty, any other comments from the commission? Nope. Does anybody have a comment from the floor? All right. We'll move on to new business. We're considering an application for petitioning the property identified as Lot 5, Block 33 at 857 Garfield Parkway in the R2 zoning district. Susan, would you like to take care of that, please?
Sure, this is a petitioning request for 857 Garfield Parkway. Joe Carolanafray, owner of Lot 5, Block 33, known as 857 Garfield Parkway, is requesting that the parcel be partitioned into 2 lots. This property is located in the R2 zoning district and contains 47,315 square feet of area. Per the table of dimensional requirements, lots in the R2 zoning district are required to have a minimum of 7,000 square feet and 60 feet of frontage on a street. This lot has 105 feet of frontage on Garfield Parkway. The applicant filed an application for a variance from the required 60 feet of frontage on a street for a future proposed 2 lots. More specifically, she requested a variance of 7.52 feet for each proposed lot. The Board of Adjustment met July 13th, 2021 to review the application and voted in favor of the request at that hearing. The lot is improved with one single-family dwelling. It actually has a second sort of apartment on it to the east of it that's attached, and it's located in the center of the lot. Pursuant to Chapter 410, Subdivision of Land, Section 410-18, should this be approved, the approved plats shall be recorded in the office of the Recorder of Deeds, Georgetown, Delaware, by the building inspector within 14 days from the date of approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission. The applicants have given no timeline as to when the dwelling is to be relocated or removed. If approved, the Planning Commission should also consider approving extending the time in which the plats are required to be filed by a specific time period to be adhered to. And you should have all received a copy of this survey. I have large copies, but those were just reduced copies. They weren't to scale. The application and a copy of property owners within 200 feet. This is
And-
very similar to the one that was done recently, and it kind of makes sense that they want assurances before they demolish them.
Now, I'll ask Mr. Kilmer's question, have all the boxes been checked as far as notification?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you. The commission. Commissioners, any have any questions? John?
Mr. Chairman, we've, as a commission, we've had experience with this property over a number of different times and variations. And I wanted to just give some opening thoughts, my thoughts, regarding this. This partition will result in, everybody has a survey, two very thin and long pieces of property. They got a variance to reduce the amount of size of it. And it has this existing structure.
Hold on a second.
1 second. They didn't reduce, they reduced the requirement for frontage.
Right.
They didn't reduce the size.
Not-
I just want to make that,
I understand.
okay.
But it still results in two very thin and long pieces of property.
They are very long. They are large parcels. The width of them is actually quite common. If you look at a lot of the lots, say in the 300 blocks that are zoned R2, there are many that are less than 60 feet in frontage. A lot of them are 50 feet, but they're similar. It's not an uncommon width.
Understand. In a prior situation before this commission, that they were going to do a private development. And that was tentatively approved, subject to the plans being delivered and so forth. The movement of the current structure, and that time expired, and they asked for an extension. It has a long history. And so my questions go to a couple of things. If we do this partition, they will be roughly 20,000 square feet. That would allow for more than one house.
No,
Okay, that's a question that has been put to me, and that's why I'm raising it, so that those listening and all can understand what is the end result of doing this.
the end result of this partitioning is 2 lots, 2 possible homes. And the reason for that is frontage. That was holding up their whole plan to have now 2 residential lots. The history of this is that they wanted to develop it with more lots, which didn't work, than with what's called a planned residential development, which after many months was approved by the Planning Commission. The problem, I believe, from what I heard from developers, was that the PRD, as it's called, the infrastructure for that, the roads, the stormwater management, was going to be too expensive for the project to be viable. So the owners couldn't find a developer that wanted to proceed with them, and the project ran out of time, basically, and expired. This project is to just have 2 lots, and all that can be built on them is a single house on each one.
Can I just add to that? They could be very large houses, though. They could be two, just based on lot occupancy. I'm not saying the economics of that make any sense, but
They-
that is.
They could be pretty big houses. But again, they have still setbacks they'd have to meet. There's still areas of, they're not actually wetlands, I believe, but there's problems with drainage in the back there that I think that they probably would not build in certain areas. And there are other lots up Garfield Parkway that are similar to this,
right.
that have single homes on them.
The point of asking these questions is for myself to understand that if we were to do that, we are not going to face down the road an application from one of the buyers to somehow do either a PRD or one- excuse me,
I'm so sorry.
or to further subdivide it and end up with more houses than what I understood it would be, which is one house on one and one on the other.
The only person who could do a PRD on this by code is the current owner, because it is less than 50,000 square feet, and she was the owner of record before that ordinance was enacted. So once she subdivides this and sells, no one else can, and that was the reason for, she could partner with someone before to do the PRD, and not fully transfer it until the preliminary plans were approved. So no, you cannot do a PRD on either of these, and with that in mind, they are just not wide enough to do additional subdividing, because you'd have to add frontage, you'd have to put in a street, and streets would need a 50-foot right-of-way. You can't do a private way.
And this is precisely why I'm asking these questions, to get it on the record so that any future buyer, they have a clear understanding of the possibilities and the limitations. Now, currently, the house is either going to be removed or relocated
Demolished.
or demolished. Do we have any idea of what the current owner's plan is, if this is approved,
I
to
believe
begin?
there's a representative here that could speak to that.
Okay.
Excuse me, could you go to the podium and name and address, so we can have it as a record?
Hello,
Thank
my
you.
name's Chris Onifray. I'm from Arlington, Virginia. I am Jody's son. We've been using the house for 50 years as our family beach house. And based upon your decision today, we would demolish the house.
And, Chris, if I could, first of all, very nice to meet you.
You too, sir.
You've done a wonderful job representing your mom's interests, by the way,
Well,
in
thank
my
you.
opinion. Do you have, is there any kind of an estimated timeline as to when that would occur if this is approved?
We have pricing from
I asked
several-
that question only because if it's approved, the commission does have the authority to put a time span on which that would have to occur, and I don't want to suggest an artificial one that isn't going to fit with what your plan is.
Yes, sir. So we do have pricing from several folks down here to demolish the house. It's my understanding that there is a little bit of flexibility. We'd be able to do it as soon as a month out, preferably, you know, have a little bit more time, if you all would be okay with that. But it's our intention. The house really is falling down. It's in very poor condition. It was built in 1919. I mean, it's in bad shape.
In a prior partition similar to this, the commission gave, I believe it was 120 days for the relocation of a house that was in the middle that was being partitioned. Is that a reasonable, appear to be a reasonable amount of time, somewhere between 90 and 120 days? Again, just to ensure that you don't have to come before us again and ask for an extension if it was approved.
The problem is everyone is so busy. They're busy in Washington, they're busy in Bethany. So, you know, it's very difficult to get on anyone's calendar. I would love to tell you, yes, sir. You know, we could certainly do the best that we could. You know, if I made the phone call after this meeting, you know, I don't know what someone would tell me.
But it would probably, again, just for exploration's sake, if the commission approves and felt that there was a need to put some kind of a time on that, would 6 months be unreasonable?
That would be wonderful.
Okay, that's very helpful, at least to me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any other questions? Anybody in the audience would like?
I do just have one,
Sure.
not a question as much as just to say, there are, it seems to be 4 similarly width, lots of similar width right there on Garfield, and a 5th one that's maybe not as wide, but certainly comparable in size. So it seems to me that if we approve the partitioning, there is some precedent for these 4 other properties to come before the Board of Adjustments and pursue the same thing. So I don't really have a stance on that. I just wanted to point that out.
I don't have a map in front of me.
Well,
It's a good,
from the commission's standpoint, you know, there could be 400, as long as they meet the requirements of the town, you know, unless there's some extenuating circumstances, you know, we would normally have to go along with approving that. And I agree with.
Yeah, I agree. I think you're looking at least 3 of the 4 of those properties are probably in a similar situation where they'd come back and they'd be short on frontage. One of them might be right at it or something. So in those, if they're short on frontage, they do have to request the variance. You know, I think
I think they're all developed except for one. And
Yeah.
that was, that goes back in history, that it had a PRD plan for it, because there was a house on it. The one directly adjacent to this, they just moved a house onto that.
Yeah.
And
So
stuck it in the center.
they'd have to do the same thing. They'd have to come and say, we're going to move that house off or tear it down. I'm not saying that they're going to walk in tomorrow and do it. There just is
They'd have to go to the Board of Adjustment and prove practical difficulty or hardship or whatever,
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't know the width of all of those.
Yeah.
I think this one was the widest.
I did a very simple, archaic, draw 2 lines and then transfer them, and they appear on the survey to be very similar in width. And these lots are huge. I don't have personally an issue with it. I just wanted to point that out.
For the audience's information, we do have 3 architects sitting up here. Only 1 engineer, but.
That's why it goes so slow. Yeah.
John?
and this lump of coal. But the follow-on point I just wanted to raise was, if we are to do this, it does set a precedent. I mean, we are establishing how this lot is now divided, and each of these others has different situations as to who owns it or whatever. But and it's just a question because I don't know the answer. If we do this, do we in fact set a precedent that similarly situated property owners might find that we somehow disadvantage them because of this limitation of one house, only two houses?
I'm trying to follow. I'm,
Okay, so if we approve this, and the adjacent property came in and asked for a partition,
I don't know the width, I don't know if it shows it on there. Does it show the width of the, I know I have spoken with the owners of that property. They had other ideas on doing something there, but again, they don't have frontage. If they wish to do something, then certainly they can go to the Board of Adjustment as this applicant did prior to coming here. And I don't believe it's a precedent because what the code says is that if a lot meets the requirements as in frontage, which it does now with the variance, and in lot size, it is a buildable lot and and the Planning Commission has to look at it that way. It's not really a precedent. They took the step to make it conforming with that variance approval.
So that's, I think, an interesting point, which is probably informative for me, having gone, this is the first one I've sat up here for that actually went to the Board of Adjustments first. So the Board of Adjustments gives them the variance that, so it's now, it's already two buildable lots. Really what we're doing, I'm putting words, I should be phrasing that as a question. Like, or what we're doing really procedural? We're just erasing the line, it's already there.
No, there is no line there. And it was a tricky kind of way to look
drawing the
at
line,
it,
yeah.
but they had a dimensional, they needed a dimensional variance. That's what the Board of Adjustment does, but they can't subdivide it. So, and I probably recommended that they do that, they go there first, because this board could not partition it without it having that dimensional variance.
Right,
So-
so they have the variance now, they are allowed to have two buildable lots of 57 or 53 feet in width or whatever the math is. Yeah.
Yes, by code, they can do that, and this board has to look at it as being, meeting all requirements of a lot in an R2 district.
And so to that end, if there's a precedent, it's actually set by the Board of Adjustments by providing that.
No, I think they've given, that's what they're supposed to do. That's not a precedent there either. They give dimensional variances. They can't give use variances. They just give dimensional.
What I mean by that is that if the neighboring lot or two over that's vacant goes in front of the Board of Adjustments now, and I know this is not really your, this isn't your thing, but if they go before the Board of Adjustments and say, we want to have two 53-foot wide lots, the Board of Adjustments is like, it's harder to say no to that because they just did it 2 weeks ago.
I think each and every case they hear is unique and specific. So they would have to prove, just like this one, and they gave arguments, they would have to prove difficulty or, some unique feature to it. I mean, this property has gone through quite a few tries or quite a lot of attempts to develop this in some way or another. And, they've proven
They demonstrated the hardship.
that they could not do, and it could have done a PRD if the infrastructure, I guess, had been not as expensive or something. They had approval by this board, but they just couldn't get a developer to go forward with it.
Yep. I
So
think
instead of 5 houses, they want to just build 2.
Yeah.
Or maybe 1 and sell the other. I don't
Right.
know.
That's super informative, because I just hadn't been through that process before, so thank you.
Susan, the impulse for asking the kinds of questions I am and my stumbling explanation of and questions was just to get to the point of making sure that we understood what we were doing so that there were not unintended consequences.
I appreciate that. No, I
And
understand.
that is the point.
My impulse was ignorance. I just want to be clear about that.
Thank you very much. Chris, thank you.
Thank you.
Are there, anybody else have a comment or that you'd like to make? Yes, sir. If you'll step up and provide your name and address, thank you.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. My name is Arthur Furnia, and my wife, Ann Furnia, and I own the property at 851 Garfield Parkway, right next door. Thanks for letting us have the opportunity to speak. And really, we have no objections to the plan for the potentially two houses going up. Our concern and our interest in attending these meetings is the issue with the stormwater around there. We've had terrible flooding in our yard, mainly the backyard, but on pretty much all sides, the far side and both sides of the yard facing the adjacent properties. So it's something that we just want to keep on the front burner here, and the issue of any houses going in to make sure that this issue is dealt with.
Okay, very good. Yeah, we're familiar with that property from the last time. Thank you.
One note on that, not specific to your property, but I probably should have shared this with the update on the town council hearing, is that the town manager's office and the town council are continuing to explore the possibility of a bladder dam that would be at the intersection between the Asselwoman Canal and the Loop Canal. We just got a lengthy study that shows the positive impacts of that dam on stormwater flooding, on tidal flooding. It has impacts on your neighborhood and your property, positive impacts, we think. We're going forward with the town is looking at grant opportunities for the study, so we're a ways out on it. But we think that sort of thing will actually help. We are also, this commission is looking at, well, we've already presented to the town council pervious pavement zoning requirements to be voted on that will help with drainage and prevent runoff and try to mitigate some of the flooding that happens there. So I just wanted to point those out as they're probably useful updates, and they do.
And that is on the border between Bethany Beach and Ocean View.
It's essentially it's within town property, so the town controls the part where the dam would be installed, and it wouldn't prevent like a huge storm from flooding, but it would prevent sort of the sunny day flooding that we have, king tide kind of stuff, and it would, if implemented, put in place before a large rainstorm, would give us the opportunity to have like a little more collection, so you wouldn't have that storm water just charging that area. It would be going into what would then be a lower loop canal and then drained out. So it seems like it has very positive impacts, and I just want to make an advertisement for it that I think the town should be for it. Our citizens should do what they can to help the town keep moving that forward.
Thanks, Scott. John?
Arthur, thank you for your comments, particularly ensuring that we and others in the town are keeping the issue of stormwater management and all at the top of the list. I don't know how long you've owned that property, but when 857 was proposing the PRD, the commission spent a long time with the developer and their design over the issue of drainage and stormwater management. And that interest will continue, at least speaking for myself, for the commission as we go forward. And as was mentioned, we're currently working on a zoning change that would require that you use pervious materials for ground cover, so it's not cement and all, to, again, just add to the problem if everything got paved over. So thank you for that, and I don't mean to speak for the commission, but I think you're making sure that we're still focused on it will ensure that that's the case going forward.
Thank you, John. Susan, did you have any comments on? Okay.
Just one other note on that, which is that independent of whether we subdivide the lot, the lot gets subdivided or not, they currently could put, they could cover 40% of that lot, that single lot with a house. It would be ridiculous. I'm not sure that anybody would do it, but they could, and they could pave to the extents of it. And so it's just, that's kind of how until the code is adjusted, which we're working on right now, that's kind of how it's written. So there's.
Thank you, Scott. And I'll echo what been set up here. We did spend hours on drainage alone, I think, for that. So I think almost, well, at least half the commissioners were here at that time, and that would not go unnoticed. So to say there'll never be flooding, I won't say that, but that will be an important interest for any construction that goes on beyond what's currently there. So, and we know you still have a problem anyway right now. So, yes, sir.
One other question I have is regarding obviously once the property is divided and there's an ability for developers to put a house on each side of the new properties there, is the current building will have to be demolished, which was already discussed. Is there any kind of time limit on the period of the demolishment of the building that's there? In other words, once the demolishment or demolishing, I should say, begins, is there a time frame that all the material has to be removed from the property?
There isn't one specifically, but these go pretty quickly. Generally, the lot will be cleared off in a matter of a couple days.
Okay.
They don't drag it out. They don't let parts of building just sit there. Once they're hired to demolish, they do it in a rapid.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure, since obviously our house is right next door, and
No, it won't sit there.
okay. All right.
We'll make sure they get the right acid.
That's a good point.
Okay.
All right.
Is
Thank
that
you.
all? Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Yep.
So I'm Patricia Zisios, 837 Glen Drive, Bethany Glen. I'm next to the vacant lot that's next to where your particular property is. My concern is that when we start these things, the lot that's next to us, I'm assuming is not buildable. We've had the house for over 20 years, and it just looks like a marsh all the time. And so watching and waiting to see if you put these two houses, what may or may not happen with that lot that's there, And again, you're addressing all of the flooding, because I've seen it get worse over time. Depending upon rain or not rain, it looks like I have a gully around the front of my home and so on. So that was, I just want to get on record saying I am concerned with what we're doing, or what the town is doing regarding how many units will be built on any of these properties. I'm not sure that's even a buildable lot, because it's always underwater. And maybe, do you know what I'm talking about? The one that it's on, it's
on Glen?
No, I'm on Glen, and next to me is this vacant lot that has, the person has tried several times to sell it.
Where is it?
It's on Garfield Parkway.
Oh.
Yeah, I live at 837 Glen Drive.
I have.
vacant-
Yeah, it's next, I don't know the number, because there's nothing on it. It's next to where you all are. Yeah, so,
It's the vacant lot.
It's that vacant lot.
2 doors to the east.
Okay.
right,
All right.
so, that's all. Since you're getting on record, my concern still is, if this person is allowed to ever get to build on it, what's going to happen as far as the existing homes and runoffs and so on. So that's it. Question?
Thank you. Any more comments from the audience? Okay, thank you. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that the application for petitioning for property identified as Lot 5, Block 33, at 857 Garfield Parkway in the R2 zoning district be approved.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Any comments? Susan?
I think you should put your timeline on
Right.
that motion.
John?
And I will further add to the motion that the commission place a 6-month deadline on the demolishment or relocation of the current building on the property.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any additional comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passed. Thanks, everybody who came for that. You're more than welcome to stay if you'd like, or you can leave if you'd like. It's up to you.
Chris, just as an aside, please give our regards to your mom. I was honestly concerned about her, how she was, because in the past, Saturdays was not a good day for her to appear, and wanted to be sure that. She's fine. She's right at the house, sir. All right. Well.
Okay.
All right.
Oh, she should have called me. I was up at 4:30.
Give her our regards.
Okay. Very good. Okay, let's see. That completes the new business. Now we're going to old business. Review of the rough draft comprehensive plan. As you know, we have transmitted the rough draft to the council for their review. I would like to ask the mayor to provide a schedule that the council may have, and any invitations they may have for anybody up here.
Thank you, Mr. Boswell. And thank you all for the work that you've put in on it for over a year now. It's very helpful. We're going to go through and just address what we've agreed to do is to address the substantive provisions, and those are the ones at the end where you have your recommendations and everything in each of those categories. There are 8 categories, and what we thought we would do would be address 4 of them, the first 4, at the March Town Council workshop, and the second 4 at an April workshop, when they're usually the Monday before the council meeting. Sometimes it's the second Monday, sometimes it's the third. So we'll be doing that, and then hopefully have something final for review in June, put all those comments together, and then have a public hearing and vote on it in July, because as you know, it's due August 17th to the state, and we would need to do the work on it and have it finalized in July for any final touch-up or corrections or whatever that would have to be made. So that's our plan, and we do have the expertise here of Scott, who's now on the council, and also Mr. Kilmer, who, both of whom have participated in the whole process. But anybody's welcome to come and join us. And we will also be going through probably those who feel they are interested and have the time would go through perhaps and give you some suggestions on some of the beginning portions of it, if there are any word changes perhaps or typos, just as suggestions. And Mr. Evanson sent out yesterday Google Docs, but he doesn't know who he's working with here. I mean, look at he and Mark, look at them, and then he's got to deal with us. So we may be coming to you for some expert help in how to go about this so that we don't delete everything that's there. So I don't know if you have any questions, but that's kind of what we have agreed to do that made sense. And we appreciate getting it, even though it wasn't final, we do appreciate getting it so that we could focus on it the next couple of months.
Thank you. John?
Madam Mayor, first of all, thank you for being here. I'm going to take advantage of your presence to just raise a concern that I have had. The last one of these we did, we were fortunate enough to have the assistance of the University of Delaware and a graduate assistant, and it came at a cost, but my recollection is, they acted sort of as the final editor. In other words, if there were grammatical things or whatever, we, the commission, weren't fumbling to do that. And I don't believe we had to impose on the town's admin staff much to do that. This time, we have not had that assistance, and I personally have struggled with who is the final editor. In other words, who puts the finishing touches on it? And as I have fumbled around with that, I've noticed the comprehensive plans of neighboring jurisdictions are really very slick. I mean, are very well done. Not that ours isn't, and they had outside assistance. I don't know to what extent and all, but clearly they had a professional editor or whatever that helped put those documents together in a way that, from my standpoint, are very helpful to the residents of those towns. They can open it and read it and understand it. And I would just I raise that to see if, as we go through this, if the town council and all feels that it needs a finishing a veneer on it, whether there's an appetite for potentially exploring calling in one of these outside professional operations to assist.
You know, this is my first comprehensive plan, so I'm at a loss. I don't know if there was a role initially, and I would ask Mr. Kilmer if he would chime in on this too. I don't know if there would have been a role initially for the Planning Commission to say that they wanted outside help in putting this together and in reformatting or doing the work differently. I'm at a loss with that. But I have looked at the ones from different jurisdictions, the local municipalities, and you're absolutely right. I think what the Planning Commission did in this case was to take what was there and edit and update it. And I think in the future, perhaps that's something, and I know Mark and I have talked about that, and Scott and I, about having some type of outside professional who is more expert in graphics and in presentation to be able to do that. And I would have thought that would have been something that would have been done from the beginning. I think it might be too late to do it at this stage, but I would
think,
defer to
yeah,
Mr.
Mr. Kilmer did ask for a proposal from the state of Delaware to do the same effort that they did 10 years or 12 years ago, I guess. 5 years ago. And so I would ask Lou if you'll provide the information. And what John's comment is very valid, because, you know, I was sort of hoping the town manager, once we got to a point, would take over the editing, however he would do that, so that we could have a complete document. But Lou, if you will.
I think the benefit at this point from using Institute of Public Administration, that's part of the the University of Delaware, they would be very instrumental in updating our tables and charts. These are things that that's something they can do very much more easier than we can. I think that'd be critical. Overall, I've looked at the entire document that we have so far. I think other than minor edits and up, it's pretty good to go the way it is right now. I've done this, been involved in my fourth one, I believe, and so the thing is, one of the things I think we have benefit right now is because of COVID, that we have a little more time to deal with it. We already got an extension, but there's a lot of things going on within. So I think we can meet the deadline. I think I think you'll have a finished product that's that's ready to go up to the state planning office. But I think we have to, as I pointed out to Scott, all the tables that need to be updated. Some are way too old.
Right.
2015 are even older than 2011. So they have to be all updated.
Lou, let me ask you a question. Since you were the chairman as well as the council member when we did it in 2010, what is the appropriate avenue for us to request that be done? Is it through Scott or directly to the mayor or whatever? Because
Well, since three of us know what has to go on, so we'll.
I do appreciate that.
Yeah. We'll talk with one of us. We'll talk to Cliff. I already identified to Scott each one that has to be updated, so he knows that. Since he's the council representative on the, so I basically just talk to the administration, talk to IPA, set up a time, get it done, and also notify them that we're kind of on a time curve here.
Yeah.
So I think they can meet the deadline, and I think overall, I think the plan is. Not in bad shape, other than
yeah, I think it's just
other than getting all those little tables and charts
Right.
Up to date.
Yeah, it's in a position as far as the council is concerned, not the council, the commission's concerned, that what we submitted to the council is, ready to be reviewed.
Yeah.
In its form.
And the council may add other
Yes,
things that they would like to see, what they might, their idea of what the town's going to be in 5 or 10 years from now. So I think that's another aspect that might be added to that.
Well, that allays my concerns that John raised as far as the editorial comments that we would get for pagination and things like that. John, did you have another question or comment?
Just a comment. Part of my raising this is my competitive nature. Bethany Beach leads this part of Delaware in terms of its good government management and approach. And I want to be sure that when this is finally done, that Bethany Beach's comprehensive plan, as it was recognized back in 2012 and 2017, was an exemplar of the best that it could be done. and to be sure that we are not outshone by Ocean View or South Bethany because of their slickness or whatever. And I'm being very honest here. I want to be sure, I was raising it because I want to be sure that ours stands above and serves as a guide to all of the other smaller communities around here that have to meet the same obligation.
One of the things, and I think that's a point well taken, one of the things I'd like to see is, we're having turnover not only on council members, but also on planning commission. And I think the institutional knowledge is not always going to be there about how it's done. I think it would behoove us that once this is over, that we sit down together and say, this is the standard operating procedure. This is whoever's responsibility something is. This is how far in advance the planning commission should start. This is when it should be finished, how far in advance to give it to council. This is whose responsibility it is to go and find someone who's going to, typeset it or to put it into a form that is competitively presentable, because I think that there's a lot of things that fall between the cracks because I came to you early on, before November of last year, and said, when is the plan going to be started? So, I mean, these are things I was not aware of, and I think as we change, and we're all getting older, so we're going to have new people on, well, except you, Mike. We're going to have new people on Planning Commission and new people on council, and Lou's not going to be here forever, although we'd like him to be and he'd like to be, to be able to say, this is what we need to do. So I really would like to get something for the good of the town and the good of those who follow us, to get something kind of in writing, even if it's a draft as a guide that people can adapt as they go along. So I don't know what you think of that, but I agree with you, John, on the looks of it and everything. And I think it could be, if we have some kind of a standard operating procedure, perhaps for those who follow us, it might work better.
Well, that's a great idea. I think that after we put this one to bed, that would be an item we'll do, especially for Scott and Mark, because, they're the only ones who are going to make it. And
They're the only ones that will.
the
So
rest of
you're
us just had
delegating
our
this?
obituary read to it, but that's okay.
Mark's going to make it. I'm graying at an incredible rate.
Yeah. I got clothes older than you, Scott.
So do I.
Can I want to add something to the discussion, which is, John, your comments have been echoed by the three people to my right who also reviewed the AECom proposals from Ocean View and Millville. I shared those thoughts with the mayor and vice mayor. I think we, as a council, agree that in the next round of this, what would make sense is that the planning commission's role would be the intellectual capital, would be like the visioning, what we want to see for the 5-year update, what we want to see for the town from there on out, and that a company like AECom or DEI, is that the acronym I'm looking for? The Delaware Institute of Public, the IPA, can do the heavy lifting of the data entry and the formatting and then that. So maybe we're giving them an earlier rough draft.
Right.
So we'll still, Lou mentioned this to me Friday at our meeting, or maybe Monday at our workshop, about going to IPA with this now. So I think we still have that opportunity, and Lou, I'll get your help on who to contact there and how to start that process. But the next round, I think we agree. I don't want to put words in everyone's mouths, but our conversations are definitely at least positive about that's the way it should probably go next time around.
No, I think I won't be here for the next one, I'm sure. Physically, I hope to be here, but I'm sitting here. The effort by Lou when we started this 18 months ago, whenever we did, he did check with Delaware again to see what they were charged, and they were going to charge an awful lot more than what they charged the first time, maybe 10 times more. I don't know what the number was, but so that's why the commission took this on themselves to save money for the town. Plus, I think the one that was done 12 years ago was in pretty darn good shape and pretty well laid out, so we felt that we could provide something. But I think the comments I've heard, I think it's a good plan, but it could be splashier, if I could use that word. And I think it would be very nice if we did have someone who could edit this thing and put it to bed without us worrying about whether we spelled something correctly or missed a word. John, you had a comment?
Mr. Chairman, I'd just like to add, so that we have it on the record. Lou Kilmer, I mean, he helped us immensely in this last round, but his effort didn't start 18 months ago. It started a couple of decades ago. The comprehensive plan that we are currently operating under, Lou was the editor-in-chief and the wagon master, you name it. He is an unsung hero, a quiet hero as to why we have such a good plan. And so I just wanted it on the record that we owe him a public debt of gratitude.
And to back that up, and to build on the mayor's point about a sort of a draft outline of how we do this, I think you can see where we went from like way ahead of schedule to a little bit behind the 8 ball was right when I took Lou's chair.
May have been when I took Lou's chair.
So I think that like a lot of that and like knowledge of how to do that, how to get where we're going, was right there with Lou.
Yeah.
And if we can get that on paper, so that next time kind of everybody knows how we not going to know exactly how it was done, but know like these are the steps that we need to be taking, and we need to be roughly starting it in November of the year before or whatever, and like we need to be here. Then you know, when Lou's not here 30 years from now, when we're doing the 30-year update, the 40-year update, or whatever it is, whoever is sitting in these chairs will be able to do it.
Yeah, I think Lou has done an incredible job, and he was the one who really set the framework for this over many years. And you are all wonderful to work with. I mean, you're very easy to work with. You know, there's no ego set in the way. It's all, you know, what's best for the town. And I think that it's a great idea, Scott, to sit down once this is over, because I think we need to pick Lou's brain while we still have it.
Well, he still has it. Okay, Lou, the service will be,
Somebody want to drive
shall notify St. Anne's that something's changed? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, Ms. Mayor. Let's see. We will take a 5-minute break because I don't know how long bamboo's going to take us. We could get bamboozled by John, but so we'll take a 5-minute break, coffee, restroom, whatever you want, and we'll be back here in a quarter after.
reading this episode. I mean,
I want to go to sleep. This is the thing to take on.
Okay, we're back to the meeting. One comment I want to make about the comprehensive plan. This is not an update. This is a brand-new 10-year plan. I know in the plan, we do say update here or there on the front and the back, but just, yeah, but that's probably a good reason, as John brought out, that we need an editor of some sort to take care of those things. The
Lou
updates
pointed
have-
that out to you.
Pardon?
Lou pointed that out too, and I've already changed it in the Google
Oh,
Doc.
did you? I've got it on the front of the page, too. It's a 10-year
Oh,
plan.
yeah. Oh, no,
It's
I
not
saw
an
the
update.
5-year, yeah.
Yeah, we only have one update every 5 years. Okay. Now,
it's right here, look.
John has asked if we could talk a little bit more about bamboo and other stuff, trees. So with that, I'll open it up to John.
Mr. Chairman, at the last commission meeting, we were talking about property maintenance and so forth. And I made the comment that bamboo was prohibited. And it was pointed out to me that it wasn't in our code. And I thought to myself, maybe I was dreaming it, but I could recall a discussion that had happened at some period of my time on the commission. And fortunately for me, the mayor had the same reaction, that she thought she had heard something before. And unlike me, she went and did some research and found that, in fact, at the town council meeting of May 18th, 2007, there was a discussion about amending the town code that so as to add bamboo, cattails, and phragmites to the list of items that lots should be kept free of, to avoid a change in the natural flow of surface water or constitute a fire hazard or an unsanitary or prejudicial or detrimental to the health and welfare of the adjacent property. And out of the minutes of that meeting, Mr. McClenn, Tony McClenny, read the title and synopsis of that, and a resident who had bamboo on her property objected and said that she appreciated how it provided privacy and coverage for neighboring homes. And she asked the council to reconsider limiting bamboo. She didn't feel that the council should be legislating vegetation. Mr. McClenny advised that the state had determined that bamboo is a, quote, nuisance plant, unquote, and its growth should be prohibited. According to the minutes, bamboo is listed on the state's noxious weed list. Mr. Jaywork, who was counsel, stated that there are two species of bamboo. One is a nuisance plant and the other is not. He was of the opinion that further clarification was needed and that he would provide an opinion prior to the next month's meeting, which the mayor was never able to find any follow-up. So my only point is that, one, it helped me realize that I wasn't going totally senile, because there had been a discussion about bamboo, and we don't have to do anything about it now, but it might be something to put on our list as we are working on trees and so forth, whether we need a provision in our regulations that specifically state that, so that Susan would have something to show people and not just rely on this, her saying, well, the state says it's a noxious weed.
Any comments? Mark? Oh,
Yeah, I would. I mean, I 100% agree. I appreciate the history too. I think as we, or at least I got into some of the neighboring jurisdiction codes specific to tree preservation, landscape, other things. Some are very robust, and I think we're missing some of that. But I think with that, it also comes with a lot of support behind it from from a staff standpoint at the town level. But I do agree. I would, I think where we were going with the pavement, with the tree replenishment, preservation, and a few other guiding things that could help Susan and the town enforce and, start the architecture of what that landscape requirement would be is a great idea.
Well, maybe we're going to be talking, we're talking about this today and going forward. Make that just part of our discussion about tree replacement and all. And, I generally don't like anybody telling me what I can and can't have on my property, but if it's appropriate, I don't think it's unreasonable to say you can't, you should not be planting bamboo or any other things that we might find in advance. We don't have to be out policing it, but if somebody complained, it would be nice for Susan and her inspectors to have something on our books to say, look, don't shoot the messenger. It's right here. This is what we're trying to do.
well, I think it's more than just on your own property. I think one of the reasons bamboo is it unfortunately doesn't stay on your property. So your next door neighbor may
Right.
love his bamboo, and next thing you know, the bamboo's breaking your foundation and everything else. So I think there is a difference, specifically for bamboo. I think that's something.
Yeah, I also think there's a list of like nuisance, but also invasive species that they do not allow, landscapers will not touch it, and the state of Delaware has a list of them also. I think it might be more of an education thing. People may not know when they're planting it. If you can go forth with more of educating with all our green space, I think that might be something we can put in.
Yeah, I know at one time, the National Zoo, you could,
I have it on the property of Bethesda from the
Yeah,
National Zoo.
they were giving bamboo away. And people said, this is a great deal, and then planted it, and it took over the neighborhood. Anyway. Thank you for the time, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I think it's a pretty important item, but, and I agree, we should add it to our discussion about trees. I don't know, I like Mark and Scott to give us their rendition of, since you guys deal with this sort of stuff with your clients, what do you guys think? Is that would help me a little bit?
Well, a lot of what we've been doing when we talk about like the pervious paving, the reserved area for landscaping or for natural vegetation has a lot to do with how, at least in my experience, it is with clients. Some clients come to you and they are just, if you say, we recommend you talk to a landscape architect, and they're going to design something for you, and they just go for it. And, there are examples of that in town where they're like really heavily landscaped, like yards that go to houses that we've designed. And then you're going to have other clients who just say, kind of the first things they're going to say to you is, I want low maintenance. I'm sure Susan sees this all the time too. And low maintenance to them means when I get here, I don't want to see a weed. I don't want to, I don't want to deal with anything. So it makes, obviously constraints are difficult, and I hear, John, what you're saying about, like, I don't want someone to tell me what I can and can't do on my lot. But as an architect, if I say, I think you should do this because it's good for the environment, or you're being a good neighbor, or those are very, like, ephemeral, sort of amorphous conversations that, like, you're trying to play on somebody's, intent to be a good neighbor. It's a little bit of an uphill battle to make that explanation. So when the town code says something that's, like, logical and easy to achieve, but has some restrictions that benefit the public, we can just say, look, you have to do it. Where there's no, it's like, John, like you said, for Susan or for code enforcement, it's not a, like, gray area. It's just, it has to be this way. And so if as a commission and a council, we say there shouldn't be bamboo anywhere in town, okay, well, there just shouldn't be bamboo. And I think, like, to me, you don't want to make it like, well, there's a good bamboo and a bad bamboo. Then we have to hire, an arborist or a grass specialist or whoever. You just say,
Certified bamboo.
right? Yeah, certified. Yeah, bamboozler, and to use Mike's word. So I think if we're seeing it as an issue, if the commission is seeing it as an issue, then it should be something that's addressed. And to Mark's point, when he's talking about the more robust language in other jurisdictions, they go through and spell out exactly which plants you can and can't have. I'm not sure we want to take it that far or don't want to take it that far, but I think things become easier for Susan when they're black and white, but also maybe not too detailed.
Why don't we just get I don't know the list, but, I mean, we could just get the list of
There is a list.
Yeah, there is.
I might even have a list.
species that the state has labeled as noxious or whatever,
Yeah.
and see what's on there and see what is a problem for us. And I really wouldn't be able to do anything until someone complained anyway.
Right.
And then you'd have to determine if it's all over, then whose is it, and
Yeah.
how do you get rid
But
of it?
then maybe you're saying you adopt the whole list rather than
Yeah,
just, we don't
that's what I'm
spend
thinking.
hours talking about whether bamboo is okay or not. We
Well,
just adopt the
that
whole
sort
list.
of eliminates somebody coming in and saying, well, you allow this, why not this? Kathy, you think you may
I
have-
might even be able to put, our arborist gave us a list from the villas of invasive species. I might still be able to put my hands on it. If not, I'm sure,
I'm sure we can find whatever
yeah, we
the
can get a
state
hold of it.
is-
But I would be for just including, let's just say invasive plants, rather than picking which ones we don't particularly like.
I think to make it simple for everybody here, why don't we just follow, make a statement that we follow the recommendations or the requirements from the state of Delaware.
That's,
You
yeah.
know, make it just simple like that, because then it's not like the town itself is basically making their own set of rules. This is the state of Delaware is making the set of rules, and just follow from that perspective.
That sounds reasonable.
I agree,
John,
yeah.
would you put that on the agenda next month when you run this through?
Andrea,
She's listening.
if you're tuned in, please add this to the list, and I will follow up when you get back from your COVID isolation with your family. Okay, yes, sir, I'll take care of it.
Yeah, I think that's probably the easiest way to do it. I guess the only other question I would have is if somebody does have a species of plant, let's use bamboo as a great example, that is becoming a problem for adjoining properties, is there anything currently, I don't think there's anything we can do. Is that correct, Susan?
As far as having them remove whatever is encroaching on other properties, yeah, or that property owner can remove it themselves. I haven't had any complaints about anything like this.
Well, my old next door neighbor, he's now gone, they've sold the property, but the person next to him planted bamboo right along the property line. And I can't tell you how many years I was out there with him digging up bamboo, and 6 months later, it's right back there and putting things in. It just goes through everything. So it becomes quite a bit of a hassle. I mean, I don't.
Napalm
I
works
guess
pretty
there's
well.
nothing we can do, I guess. Pardon?
Napalm works pretty well.
Well, we came close to it, I think.
Well, get some pandas,
Somewhat?
get some pandas.
Oh, I can't afford pandas. So, unfortunately, so. And but that bamboo can really be a nightmare for,
No, it is.
especially if people don't want it. Seems to grow off your property as opposed to on your property, so.
The only way I could get rid of it in DC was dig a trench,
Yeah.
pour concrete in, so that the roots can't
Can't
go
get
further.
spread.
That was the only way I
We
ever
dug
got
a
rid of it.
trench and we put metal down that far.
Uh-huh.
Came on to the
Oh,
metal.
no, really?
And after a
Don't have
while,
any
the
do
metal
that
was pushed down the
Took a
way.
fence down.
It's a strong plant, so,
Yeah, it is.
okay. Anything else?
Move to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Just one notice, I won't be here for probably 1 or 2 months. John will be, so any comments you have or whatever, John will handle them. Anything the council wants, tell him. I'll just look.
Buckle up, everybody.
So, do I have a second for
Can
adjournment?
I make one comment on the comprehensive plan?
Certainly.
Which is just that, Rosemary mentioned this, but I've shared the Google Doc with the town council. Mark has actually set it up where they can make comments but not edits, so we won't accidentally have anything that hasn't been looked at by the commission in the intervening time. I think Lou pointed out some tables that needed to be updated, some grammatical things, some dates and stuff like that. When people have time, I think it makes sense to go through it and just look for those things, since John, as you pointed out, we don't have someone doing it. The council, as Rosemary pointed out, we have 2 workshops where we're gonna take it in half. You know, we're gonna review 50%, and then we're gonna review the next 50%. Any adjustments that get made in this intervening 3 weeks before our next meeting, we'll be reviewing that, so it'd be helpful to kind of have that stuff out of the way. So
Okay.
homework assignment
There you go.
would be to review that stuff.
And so if you have comments, you want us to go to the Google Doc.
If you feel comfortable going to the Google Doc, if you feel more comfortable with the printed version you have, feel free to mark that up and give it to someone, and to one of us, and we'll get those comments in there. Lou has done that with me already. He's given me some of his comments. They're back in your box, but you can give them back to me as soon as you're ready, and I'll get them into the Google Doc.
Good.
Sorry to derail the adjournment motion. I know that's an important one.
My last one for a while, I don't care.
Move the motion.
Second.
Any comments? All in favor? Aye, thank you.
Well, good
Good work. Oh, well, thank you.